Hey, my name's John and welcome to the Jondjones YouTube channel. In today's episode I'm going to talk to you about how to become a Rockstar Umbraco developer. Now, first off, I'm not going to lie, becoming great at your job or becoming an expert in anything takes time. You know, there's books like Bounce, which have, if you haven't read it, I suggest go and read it. It's all about the myth of talent and the power of practice. It's same as like Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell's book. If you haven't read that, it's another good book to go out and check out. In there it's basically saying you need to put in 10,000 hours of practice before you get good at anything. So the first thing, it's a bit shit, you're going to have to spend more time working on it, and you've also got to give it a few years before you can become an expert. You're not going to become an expert overnight in anything, and learning Umbraco is exactly the same. So where do you start? Well, one of the best ways of starting is just having a good understanding about the code base and understanding Umbraco. Now, sounds really easy, but like most people, you probably go into work, you'll probably work on a 40-hour work week, for example. In those 40 hours, you'll probably actually do maybe 20 hours of work, because the rest is meetings, email, blah blah blah. Out of those 20 hours of work, potentially maybe 10-15 of them are going to be doing things that you've done before. So when you actually talk about, right, you need to put 10,000 hours in and you're only doing, you know, potentially 10 hours or 5 or 10 hours of actually proper deep work, then you're going to have to put some time in after work, or you need to focus your attention a bit better. So as I was saying, understanding Umbraco is one of the key things. The best thing to do is starting your own sample website. Now, I started a trend a few years ago that I did myself, definitely helped me learn. It was called Create 30 Things in 30 Days. Now what you do in that time is, as the name implies, spend an hour each day and you build something. So potentially on day one you get a HTML template, you download an empty Umbraco sample site, and then you spend 1 hour making a homepage. Day two, you repeat the same process. And in these things, what you want to be doing is you want to pick tasks that you haven't done before. So if you've never worked on a multi-language task, do that. If you've never used a Redis cache before, integrate some sort of Redis caching into your system. And what generally happens is, because you're doing it in these projects for yourself, don't really have any requirements, makes it really easy to pick things up because you're not being constrained by trying to learn or trying to do too much at the same time. So that's sort of one of the general things. If you go on my website, jondjones.com, if you go to the Learn Umbraco section, the developer's guide, there's about 30 sort of key areas of aspects of Umbraco that you can learn. Things like load balancing, caching, performance, the right APIs to use, all that sort of stuff. I'd suggest you go there. You don't need to use my articles or my tutorials, but I'd use those topics, I'd write those down, and then I'd map those into doing one task in your 30 things in 30 days challenge. Right, that's a bit of a mouthful, but moving on. Just becoming an expert at Umbraco and being an expert at work, they're sort of slightly different things. So out of all the people I've worked with, one of the things that you should really try to aim to do is just become an expert in the code base. Now, if you're at work, have a look around. There'll always be like one or two go-to guys, and these are the guys who sort of know everything about the code base. So if someone wants something's broken, that guy will probably know where to look. If you want a quote for how long something's going to do or to add some functionality, they go to that guy. Now, one of the reasons why they go to that guy is just because he knows everything and you can give someone an answer. So my advice is, even if you don't need to, I'd spend some time going through the code base, thinking about ways of refactoring it, potentially having a look at where the different issues are. Because as soon as you become like the expert of your code base, you'll become the expert at work. Right, next up, you want to get outside your level experience. So what I mean is, I've been working for CMS systems for 11 years, 12 years now. I think in that time I've worked with 10 different CMSs. Now what I can say about every single of those CMSs is you need to do things differently for each of them. So for example, if you work with Sitecore, the best practice of Sitecore is to, because it's not installable through NuGet, you have to keep your code files in a separate library, and when you do your site, and a good practice in Sitecore is to publish all your files into your website. It's completely different to Umbraco. But when you're starting to work with Sitecore and they have things like extracted data models from your pages, you definitely start thinking about organising things. So after you've done your initial 30-day project, I would recommend for you to pick up any other CMS and then just sort of repeat the process again, but with the other CMS. Now, if you're doing the same task, the same problems, you'll pretty much get a better understanding, and it will help you build your Umbraco sites. If you don't just go in from an Umbraco only experience, it helps if you have multiple CMSs. Right, sweet. Most businesses you'll ever work for are basically paying you to help them make money. Now, if it's an agency, it's slightly different, but if you're on client side, if your company is basically saying we need to build a website because we need to make more money, what you want to do is you want to understand why the company wants that website, why it needs the money, and you really want to get into like the business sense. Now again, it sounds really weird, how do you become a Rockstar developer, but it's the same thing, is that if you get to the stage, mumbling a bit, where you get to the go-to guy, the project director or the finance director can then start coming up to you and go, look, we need to make some money, we're losing some sales in this area, what can you do? And you go, oh right, well I understand that, you know, in 6 months time the business wants to move to this direction. If you're doing that, then potentially you should look at X, Y and Z. So again, it's like, it's all very good and well, you know, having a good knowledge of the code base, good understanding of Umbraco, but especially where you work, just understanding the business, how you fit into the business, and how you make, like, how you help make that company money is just an important thing. Again, most developers don't want to hear this. Most developers sort of think, no, I'll just pay you to write code, and that's fair, you can get away with that. But if you ever want to reach to the higher levels and you want to get to the top of the mountain or the treetop and get paid as much as you can, these are the sort of things that you're going to have to go through, and these are the things you have to realise, that at a certain level it's not just being able to code that makes you a rock star, it's being good at helping a business make money and being able to code really well as well. So, more like development tips, become great at debugging. Now, I've worked on loads of projects and it's the same as when the shit hits a fan or when things go wrong, people want to come to you and go, oh yeah, I don't know how to fix this. If you can fix it, you become the go-to guy. Now debugging, I'm not going to lie, comes with a bit of experience, but it also comes with like having a systematic plan, being a bit practical, being a bit pragmatic, trying things out. Potentially if you're trying something, there's no point in just bashing your head against the wall for so long. Try different things, try different techniques out. There's books written about how to become better at debugging, so I'd recommend you go out and you read about that. And that's the follow-up point to this is you don't really ever want to ask anyone for help. Now, this is a bit of a controversial one because when you're being a junior or you're learning and you potentially want to get something, it's frustrating not knowing anything. But if you can get into a mindset where you don't really ask anyone for help and you can figure out problems yourself, that's just one of the fundamentals of becoming like a great developer. If you look at anyone in your organisation who's really good, those people aren't constantly getting a problem and then going and asking for help or trying to get other people to fix their problems for them. They take responsibility for their problems and they fix it themselves. Right. Another one as well, a bit more of a business one, is you want to manage expectations. So this is another classic one of the difference between a good developer and a bad developer is, say you get given a task, most of us are really happy to underestimate how long something's going to get done. So in a day we have a lunch break, we have meetings, we have catch-ups, we have sprint planning, all those sort of stuff. And when someone says, oh, how long is it going to take to do your bit of work? You go, it's going to take an hour. Before you know it, the whole day's gone, and that 1 hour task takes a day. Now imagine if you're building a massive website, and you do this underestimating, where you go, how long is it going to take to build this website? And you go 3 months. And then 12 months later, the website hasn't been built yet. So it's being able to manage these expectations and being able to come up with good estimates. Now estimating is stupidly hard. There's been books around it for years and years. There's people much more clever than me who've written a lot about it. But my general tip is, if you can, try and use like an agile methodology. Try and break things down into small tasks. If you can get to a stage where you can pretty much guess how long the task's going to take, it's going to be about a day, 2 days, then you're never going to get into this situation where you're guessing and causing like business frustration or your team frustration because you never know when something's going to get finished. And I think that's about it. So My battery's running out, so I definitely have to go. This is obviously a YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. At the moment we've got 27 subscribers. If you subscribe, you can be a legend and I'll give you a shout out in a comment. Go to my website, jondjones.com. On there's 700 tutorials which help you with Umbraco and learning anything about software development. Hope this is useful to someone. If you found it useful, hit the like button because it will help other people find it. Until next time, see ya.